I'd like to call the meeting to order. Barbara, would you please call the roll?
We have Commissioner Sales, Holloman, Moss, Noonan, and Parkway present.
Proceedings will be on Channel 35. We'll start with our normal report from the General Manager. Mr. Nichols.
Thank you very much. First, one quick item. We have encountered summer officially finally got to Los Angeles, and we have had some pretty hot temperatures. As we know, dealing with that in general is something always that's important for utility. Regionally, it's important with respect to the status of the San Onofre nuclear generating plant right now. I thought it'd be worthwhile for Aram Benjamin to give a little overview as to how things look right now for us.
Just quickly, we're anticipating several consecutive days of heat being over 100 degrees in the valley. So, in preparation for that, we put a restriction on our maintenance of our units, which means every unit that we have is available, for meeting the demand. As the forecast goes today, is about 5,300 to 5,500 megawatts of demand in the city, which is going to cross our probably peak load if this heat keeps up going up, and we have enough resources to cover it. So, and we have issued conservation messages, and cool, keeping cool tips to the residents, and we ask for customers that have subscribed to our demand response, to curtail on the load in case we need to make up for the balance.
Thank you very much. There's another item that I just wanted to bring to the board's attention, a short update on the status of the first demonstration phase of our feed-in tariff, and just give you an update as to where that sits right now. I thought we had some copies of that summary, up on the table here. I believe the board members all have them. This first demonstration program, we took bids. They were price bid within specific criteria. It's a really important step towards our first, our 150 megawatts of ultimate feed-in tariff before 2016. That would be installed before 2016. We accepted bids up until June 29th. The demonstration stage was intended to give us some insight into how the program was going to work, and it has worked as we expected. We've learned a lot from this, some of which we can discuss today, some of which we cannot because we're still going through the applications. But through this, it's allowed us, both us and the parties who have applied, to get an understanding of the application process, for us evaluating them, the selection, the processing of those applications, the effort to which we're now starting to undertake interconnection studies for each of those, just as we would any power plant that connects to sell power to the department, to then process the power purchase agreements, and then ultimately we will be doing that to inspect and receive the power from those. The results of this are that we received 26 applications under this process. We did not get a total of 10 megawatts. We actually had a total of 7 megawatts applied for. Not all of those are conforming. We're still doing some final review of that. Some of the issues that we've identified with respect to those are some are in a situation where the project was located where we cannot accommodate the power for the amount that they're doing without doing some significant retrofit to our system. And in addition, in some of them, pricing were above the authorized levels that we had. So we're sorting through that. We're pleased, and as you can see in the summary that we've handed out here, we got very broad geographic diversity. We're pleased with that. We had some up in Owens Valley. The ranges, you'll recall that we set a minimum of 30 kilowatts, a maximum of just under a megawatt, or 999 kilowatts. And we received from 38 kilowatts to 995 in these applications, and a variety of building types. They've been multifamily buildings, commercial buildings, industrial, educational, as well as mixed-use facilities. So it's a good sampling of the types of circumstances that we would expect to see in a broader program. We have completed our initial review. We will be notifying applicants this week of whether they were accepted, or in those cases of some where we made a determination that they've been rejected. Interconnection studies will be done this month and into September. We're trying to fast track those. And that's important because just like any power plant that connects to DWP, we have to have an interconnection agreement with them, and we have to go through those same processes regardless of size. Now, a seller, just to be clear, a seller doesn't know. Seller will ultimately be responsible for the interconnection cost, just as any seller to us would be. They don't know what that exact cost is going to be until we've undertaken that interconnection study. And once they get those results, if they can elect to back out if it came at a cost level that was more than they had anticipated or had allowed for. Timeline is such that they have 30 days from the time that we've given them that interconnection study result and the cost of that, after which they can then sign the contract. So that kind of lays out the overall time frame. We expect that overall process to be concluded for all of them by late October. Anything that is not subscribed within that 10 megawatt piece rolls over into the remainder of the 150 megawatt process. So we still plan right now. We're going through this process, and we're using the experience we have through this to better think through how we ramp up to that remainder of the balance of the more significantly sized program. But we still plan to roll that out and have it up operating before the end of this calendar year. We'll have public workshops in the next 30 to 60 days over that next rollout phase, where we're going to present our plans, get comments on that before we adopt what the longer term project will look like. So I'm pleased with where we are, and I think we're on point. Be glad to answer any quick questions that the board might have.
Questions from the commissioners?
Not this time.
Do you have a sense of why we received bids for just the 7 versus the 10 megawatts?
You know, we've asked ourselves that. I think there are those who are waiting to see what our long-term program will be. There was a lot of discussion during the course of coming up with this demonstration plan on what would be the pricing mechanisms long-term. So I think some people are potentially waiting that out. And at the same time, in addition, we had at almost roughly the same time, we had our next part of program of our solar incentive program came out at about the same time. I think, perhaps in retrospect, maybe the timing could have been done a little differently, to be honest with you. So I think those are probably the key reasons. I don't know if there's anything else kind of would be speculative.
Mr. Parker?
Yeah, at the end of the day, do you think we'll be entering into relationships that'll deliver above or below 5 megawatts total for this first demonstration project?
It's hard to say right now. I mean, honestly, there's just a couple of issues that are still hanging out there. So I think it's a little too early to say.
Thanks.
Any other questions or comments? Anything else in your report?
That's all I had. Thank you.
Thank you. Comments on operations or questions from any of the commissioners? We're at public comment now, and I believe we have one speaker card.
Yes, I have one card for item 4 public comment, which is Tony Wilkinson.
Tony Wilkinson, Chair of the Neighborhood Council, Department of Water and Power Memorandum of Understanding Oversight Committee. The department, as you know, is continuing to pursue rate coverage for its operations. It's not before your board today, but I do want to come here because of the time issue. I want to make certain people who are watching on television understand this as well. We'd look forward to having a report from the ratepayer advocate by now. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen until August 20th or thereabouts. But I do want to note that on the department has a 2-year proposal revised from a 3-year proposal that was introduced a full year ago. All those documents are on the department's public website. They're kind of hard to find, so I would kind of recommend a simple link from the neighborhood news page, and also a neighborhood news wire that might go out with that link, because it's a complicated link. I want to make certain that everyone has the opportunity to see and review the department's rate proposal before the ratepayer advocate comes out with the analysis, because I don't want the clock starting then. I'd like to have it start now because now is the time for the public to get engaged with this issue. Since it's been a long time, it's going to move fairly rapidly with this delayed ratepayer report. So I'm here to advocate getting that link out so that everyone can participate, and also to thank the board. I think there's a number, 17 or 18, about the policy you have on increasing your energy efficiency targets. I think it's a great move by the board. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's see what we can do, obviously, to make the website as easy to navigate as possible.
We'll do that. I believe that it was, but we'll take another look at it again. Thanks.
Thank you.
I do have another card got turned in for item number 4. Linda Romney.
Oh, there it is.
Good afternoon.
Afternoon.
I have an exhibit. My exhibit is my letter that, actually there's 2 letters. One is July 9th, addressed to the General Manager, Ronald Nichols, and the other is Department of Water and Power, Ms. Sharon Grove, and I also met with her assistant when I was here last. I outlined everything in this letter that I was entitled to a credit, $318.92, and instead I get a disconnect, and that I owe them $400. No response to my correspondence as normal, and Mr. Nichols, you promised that something would be done about this. And in my correspondence to you on July 9th, I reiterated all my conversations with Ms. Adams for 4 months and all my correspondence. Finally, she called me back and said, I never received any of your correspondence. She says they get them at the executive offices and they take them. She didn't know a thing about it. So I spend my time writing letters, and here you have 15 floors, and you can't get one employee to respond to your ratepayers? I mean, this is so egregious. And yet you want an increase of 30% for the water to make it drinking water quality, when we don't drink your water. We use it for irrigation, we use it to wash our clothes, we use it to wash our dishes, for showering, and so on. You'd be better off financially if you would take care of the issue and give us all Arrowhead distilled water. Financially, it would be much more beneficial. Now, here's a copy of the letter. I'd like to leave this for you. Now, these 2 ladies said they would take care of it, and that it would be 2 weeks. It's been beyond that. And yet I get a disconnect notice for the 15th of this month. I'd like a hold put on this account, please.
The officer can give the material to the officer. Thank you. Moving on to the minutes, is there a motion to approve the minutes of May 24th by either Commissioner Moss, Noonan, or Parkerly?
Yes.
So moved. Second?
Second.
Hearing no objections, minutes are approved. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of June 5th?
So moved.
It's been moved and seconded. Any objections? Hearing none, minutes are approved. We're going to pull items from the consent agenda. We're going to pull items 7 and 8. Is there a motion to approve items 6, 9, 10?
Mr. President, may I ask for your indulgence? I'd like to just ask one question on item 14, please.
Yes, we'll pull 14 also. Let's go through it again. 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 13.
Move approval.
Is there a second? Any objections? Hearing none, motion passes. And now I want to go to, we have quite a few speakers to item 18, and there are, I believe, 7 speaker cards.
Yes. Okay, the first speaker is Noreen McClendon, and after that, Diop Bancol.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Noreen McClendon. I'm the Executive Director of Concerned Citizens of South Central Los Angeles, a former Environmental Affairs Commissioner for the City of Los Angeles. And I'm here today in support of the resolution before you. Concerned Citizens was founded in 1995 to work for environmental justice in our community. Although we became known for our housing development and organizing strategies, those areas were developed to address our environment. Our founders recognized that the environment was more than pollution. But make no mistake, we are certainly concerned about pollution in our community. In that regard, I am here today to ask for each of your support for adoption of the guiding principles for developing and implementing the energy efficiency portfolio in order to aggressively promote energy efficiency across all customer segments, assist residential customers in achieving energy efficiency, ensure that low-income customers receive tangible economic benefits of energy efficiency, and most importantly to our community, that the adoption of these principles is leveraged to support continued development of quality job opportunities for local workforces. The creation of careers in energy efficiency is not simply about the staggering unemployment in my community or raising the quality of life for my neighbors, but it serves to ensure that DWP will have a pipeline of skilled workers. This is critical at a time when the American workforce is not keeping pace with the skills of other nations and quality jobs are being outsourced. Part of the problem with the current American system is that we routinely legally discriminate against persons with criminal records. We exclude members of our society from quality employment opportunities because of their past. This, despite always touting our belief in second chances. Well, in my community, there is not always a chance, much less a second chance. There are local, smart, able-bodied, willing men and women that can serve this department in the city if we provide an opportunity. America can't afford to continue to throw away its citizens after a mistake or simply taking a deal for something they didn't do to avoid long jail terms. The Founding Fathers were people who needed a second chance, and so does our community, and so does the employment and the workforce of the Department of Water and Power. So this is a win-win for everybody. Our community gets employment. We get energy efficiency, which saves our environment, and the department gets great workforce. So it's a win-win for everybody, and I urge your support, and thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And the next speaker is Diop Bancole, and after that, Barbara Lott Holland.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Diop Bancole. I am a landlord in the Los Angeles area, near the Crenshaw area. I own 4 buildings, and I work with 28 families. I'm here as a partner with Repower LA. As a landlord, the amount of money that it comes, I see the amount of money that it takes to provide lighting and energy, for the tenants. And with the product that Repower LA is working on, basically we are working on trying to. I'm sorry, I'm a little nervous. As a landlord, I see the amount of money that it costs to run the electricity in a small building. I have 4 buildings in LA that across the city. Let me see. I'm here today because I am trying to expand. I am trying to work with Repower LA to expand the energy efficiency program. It is a win-win program that not only benefits the homeowners but also the landlords and tenants. Let me see. I applaud your expanding the energy efficiency program that you guys approved in May. Let me see. I want to see this program expanded so that I could reinvest some of the savings back into the community, back into the buildings, because I provide lighting and security, for the, in the common areas of the building. Yeah, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Barbara Lott Holland, and after that, Aura Vasquez.
Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Barbara Lott Holland. I am co-chair of the Bus Riders Union. This policy, and also a member of the Repower LA Coalition, this policy will be a step toward creating a career path as well as providing energy savings for our low-income communities. These communities are built up of people that have worked their entire lives, then come to retire and find that the cost of living exceeds their retirement plan. So by providing them a way to reduce reduce energy within their homes, but yet provide a good quality of life is very important. This project is a stepping stone in reducing our dependency on coal, which in turn will reduce the pollution in our air and help provide a better quality of air and save our planet altogether. So again, the Bus Riders Union has a support and hope that you will vote for this policy. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Aura Vasquez, and after that, Joe Paul.
Good afternoon. My name is Aura Vasquez, and I'm Sierra Club's Be On Coal campaign representative. I'm also a member of the Repower LA Coalition, as you see here. We all united and speaking in support of the guiding principles for the development and implementation of your energy efficiency portfolio. We're very excited about that. Thank you. The Sierra Club is pleased to see that the stand that DWP is taking, committing to increase investments in energy efficiency and to do it in a way that creates career path jobs, promotes high levels of energy efficiency across all customers, and clean energy production. We're also very pleased to see that its commitment to transparency and regular reporting around a broad set of measurements, including energy savings, job quality, creation, and high-quality customer service throughout the city. Los Angeles must end its reliance to out-of-state coal. What a better way to do this by investing in energy efficiency programs that create, as I said, good local jobs for all Angelinos that have been impacted by the economic recession that we are facing, and protect also the environment. Increasing investments in energy efficiency and raising its goals from 8.6 to 10% reduction in energy use by 2020 is really a good start. I want to translate this from all of our members at the Sierra Club. We want to continue working with you and the department, not only to make this goal a reality, but also to surpass these energy efficiency goals of at least 15% energy reduction goals by 2020. So thank you. Energy efficiency is a win-win situation. It's the cheapest way to cut down on our city's carbon footprint. It saves customers money on their utility bills, and something that we all know is crucial during this time. So thank you, and please support this resolution as is.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Joe Paul, and after that, Joe Donlin.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Again, my name is Joe Paul, and appreciate the opportunity to share a few thoughts with you. I'm here on behalf of the UAW LETC Workforce Center. We're a partner with the Repower LA organization and operation. For the last 5 years, the UAW LETC has been working in collaboration with the City of LA, specifically South Los Angeles, providing reentry employment services to individuals coming out of state prison. We've had amazing results, and we're pretty proud of those accomplishments. Repower LA represents a unique opportunity to create real jobs in the spirit of collaboration. Public and private sectors working hand in hand at a critical time when community-based organizations are pressed to provide high levels of service with minimal resources to the most vulnerable members of our community. With unemployment as high as 20% or more in some areas across the city, the clients that I work with are facing extreme hardships and trying to reintegrate themselves back into the community after they've served their time. Through programs like Repower LA that are not only focused on real career opportunities, through the IBEW's, the Local 18's Utility Pre-Craft Training Program, but also we're working to ensure that those jobs go to the people who are hardest hit by this recession, including those individuals who have backgrounds or other barriers to employment. DWP, through its relationship with Repower LA and its coalition, has a valuable opportunity to provide career path jobs to people with barriers to employment. The values and appreciation that has evolved as a result of working with the IBEW's Local 18 has given our community-based organizations that work with the formerly incarcerated and other barriers a vested interest in this process because of our collective goal to provide the highest quality candidates regardless of their criminal histories. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Joe Donlin, and after that, Abraham Hernandez.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Joe Donlin. I'm with SAGE, which stands for Strategic Actions for a Just Economy, and I'm here today on behalf of the Repower LA Coalition. At SAGE, we work with residents of South LA to strengthen the economic security and well-being of low-income communities. Today, I want to express my support for the guiding principles for the development and implementation of the energy efficiency budget. In order to reach the most vulnerable communities, we know that policies and programs have to be intentional about and must commit resources to the design of implementation programs geared towards the low-income residents. At SAGE, we're excited about the prospects of DWP's new energy efficiency program for two reasons. First, we know that this program can expand the creation of good jobs at DWP and spur local residents into career paths and green jobs both inside and outside the department. We think if this is done well, our communities will be excited to celebrate DWP's leadership in this area. The second reason we are excited about these implementation principles is the potential to design an energy retrofit program that includes among its beneficiaries low-income tenants, including those living in multi-unit dwellings, rent-stabilized units, and affordable housing. The best way to do this is through a well-structured plan that incorporates thoughtful selection of apartment buildings selected for retrofit and integrates an outreach program that ensures tenants understand the program and understand their rights when improvements are made to their buildings. We encourage you to vote in support of these principles today and continue to work with community organizations, including those of us in the Repower LA Coalition, to ensure our communities most adequately benefit from DWP's new energy efficiency programs. This is a great opportunity, and local residents want to be able to celebrate with you what could be a truly model program. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person is Abraham Hernandez, and after that, Jessica Goodhart.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Abraham Hernandez. I'm a member of SCOPE, Repower LA, and a resident of South Los Angeles. Over 2 years ago, my organization shared with me some really powerful information. I was told about an opportunity at a career, an opportunity to lift myself and my family out of poverty. I was told about the Utility Pre-Craft Trainee Program at IBEW Local 18. After many educational meetings, mobilizations, and town halls, I stand here before you to ask for your continued support, not just for me, but for hundreds and hopefully thousands of Angelinos that can have the same opportunity at a quality job training and careers to upgrade our homes and businesses across the city. Let's make DWP the greatest utility in the nation, the greenest utility in the nation, and I'm here to help the DWP get there. Please adopt the resolution before you. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Jessica Goodhart.
Okay. Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Jessica Goodhart. I work at the Los Angeles Alliance for a New Economy on the Repower LA project. And I'm really pleased to be here today with coalition members. And so before I begin, I just would like to ask everyone with the Repower LA Coalition to please stand up. All right. So we have a couple people here, as you can see. And we're one or two. And we are really excited to be here today in support of a resolution, the guiding principles for the implementation of the energy efficiency budget. We're very excited that DWP has really stepped up to the plate on energy efficiency, approving a higher goals. And we believe that these principles mean that this portfolio, this investment is going to lead to broad benefits for LA customers in a way that is accountable and transparent. We have been doing a lot of work, and we've talked to thousands of customers across the city. In recent months, we did a survey of 400 customers, and let me tell you, people are struggling. We did a survey, and we found that because of this, people are extremely supportive of energy efficiency programs, especially those that reach deeply into communities. Many times what you have is children moving back in with their parents, and when they do that, their utility bills are going up. When we asked customers if they supported those programs, they were very supportive. We also, I just want to mention, did a poll of voters, which I'll present to you in this packet, when we also found broad support for energy efficiency programs. But when we asked customers, if you could save 10, 20, 25% on your bill, what would you do with those additional savings? And we were really surprised to find that one of the most common responses is we would buy more food. Okay? So, you know, these are programs that are really needed right now, and we're really excited that the department is going to build on the success of the IBW, of the IBW's Local 18's Utility Pre-Craft Trainee Program, which you heard about. We're really excited that the department is going to build on the success of the federally funded weatherization program and also expand to help small businesses who are also struggling very much right now. And I just want to point out that in the audience today, we are very fortunate to have Ms. Lorraine Cannon, who was a customer who was recently featured in a Daily News article, along with a Local 18 trainee, Ricardo de los Santos, who couldn't be here today because he's probably working. Ms. Cannon, you want to just wave or stand? All right. We were really thrilled that Ms. Cannon agreed to be part of this. She was really thrilled, as she told the reporter. We will look forward to working with you to ensure DWP becomes a leader in energy efficiency, reaches high goals of savings, and provides programs that can reach more customers like Ms. Cannon. Thank you.
Thank you. Is that it for our public speakers?
That's the last card for that item.
Who's presenting item 18?
David Jacoy is here for energy efficiency.
David, come forward. Do any of the commissioners have questions or comments on item 18? I have one question. I am very, very supportive of the resolution. The question I have is, how do we set the baseline? Because we're going to set the baseline at a time when the economy is relatively contracted, right? So our numbers in terms of our energy usage numbers could grow more tied to the economy than actual usage. So given that reality, how do we set the baseline and one that makes sense so we have a proper starting point?
Yeah, that's a great question. Setting the baseline, as you note, is more complicated than it first seems because there's a lot of factors. The weather varies over time. We expect climate impacts over the next 10, 20 years. EVs are coming online. That will affect base load. We are in the process of procuring a consultant to do the 2013 energy efficiency potential study. And part of that analysis is a very rigorous analysis procedure, will be to determine the baseline and how we factor in all those elements. Because you're right, you're not really looking at what you used in a certain year and holding that steady as an absolute, because there's a lot of other factors. So the baseline becomes that starting point plus what would have happened in the absence of these programs.
Any other questions? Is there a motion? I'm sorry, Commissioner Moss?
In determining your plans for energy efficiency over time, how will the resolution that we're being asked to consider today guide your design of programs specifically? What would you be, in other words, what would you be doing differently as a result of this resolution than you would otherwise without the resolution?
This formalizes and gives public visibility to what we normally do in the design of energy efficiency programs. And off the top of my head, we're trying to serve a number of policy interests, but that's the point. It's off the top of my head. We don't want it to be off the top of one person's head. We do want it to be codified in an adopted resolution. That will then give us the ability to, as we design programs and as we work with the community to design outreach strategies, benchmark the programs against their potential for achieving all of the goals in the resolution, not just the ones that come to top of mind.
Other questions or comments?
I would just like to add a point to that, and that is one of the things we've laid out in here is the fact that we are seeking to go across our customer mix throughout the city. we get different contributions of energy efficiency differently between the sectors are. Our goal is, while we want to be as cost-effective as we can, we also want to share the benefits of energy efficiency across all customers. And as a result, one of the things that will be a guiding principle across this that you will see when we do come back with an energy efficiency potential study is different measures will have different levels of cost effectiveness. The goal is to have an entire program that across the board is more cost effective than if we had not undertaken that program, but at the same time reaches the objectives of these guiding principles to reach into each of our customer groups in the low-income communities as well as other income communities, not just with regard to what is absolutely always the single most cost-effective item as a means to be able to spread the benefits around. And the test that would be used is that the program overall is cost-effective. And I think that's probably, perhaps more than anything else, an important factor for us to remember as we adopt these principles going forward.
Other questions on item 18? Is there a motion to approve item 18?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Hearing no objections, item 18 passes. And I'd like to take an opportunity to thank all of you who came today. I know you have work to do and lives and children. You probably have to get back to work right now. So thank you very much for coming. We appreciate it. Let's take items 7 and 8 together. I think Commissioner Noonan has questions. Who's presenting items? Oh, okay.
Let me give a little brief background on
I think
items.
you might. She just has questions, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
What I found astounding was the amount of money the department has spent on
Commissioner Noonan, just wait just a second. I'm sorry. We want to hear every word you have to say. I'm sorry. Please proceed.
Thank you. What I found astounding on both items 7 and 8, not only is the amount of funds that we've paid already in change orders, but also the projected claims that we're experiencing on both of these items. As for the excuses that were given, such as not being familiar with geotechnical conditions and traffic control plans and traffic signal plans, I'm just wondering what kind of due diligence was done earlier, and was there any due diligence done? And if not, don't you think that could have potentially reduced the amount of money that we're paying in change orders and claims?
This has had an unusually large amount of changes to the project. Whenever we have an underground project, there are lots of unknowns. We do sampling and do monitoring of the whole alignment of the pipeline, potholes, and try to identify where the utilities are underground and the type of soil and conditions that will run across. Sometimes you just can't hit those correctly, and so we've done a more dense sampling at times. Sometimes you hit things and sometimes you don't. We have to rely on some old plans and specifications. But one of the big changes that we ran through was coming across Los Feliz Boulevard. We were tunneling there, and as we went through, we actually ran into some large boulders and actually a tree stump 40 feet down that could never have been picked up, and it created some voids in the tunneling condition there that we couldn't take care of with the tunneling itself. We had to come up through and grout from the top. It did cause some subsidence along Los Feliz, so we had to shore that up, and that was a fairly large expense. Another one was a shoring methodology that was specified up front. That was there to help the community, basically a silent shoring methodology that we did get down about halfway down the depth, the required depth. but couldn't push it any farther because of some cobbles and rocks that we encountered that just hadn't been shown on the geotechnical report. So when you're working underground, there are lots of unknowns. We can try to increase the frequency of the monitoring and the pre-work. That there is an expense to that, and we try to do the best job that we can to characterize the whole route. Sometimes we're just not successful. But overall, most of our projects come in, under the contingency amount. There are a few exceptions where we run into things that we just couldn't anticipate.
Given the complexity involved with this kind of job, have we negotiated in the bidding process change fees, knowing that change fees are probably going to be inevitable? So, what kind of fee are we paying on the change orders?
Well, they're all separate. It all depends on the type of change it is. Some, there really are unknowns as to how we're going to complete the project as far as the timing goes, and it's a time and materials. We try to limit those as much as we can and try to come up with an estimate up front of what the total cost of that change would be. So we'll get an estimate from the contractor. We'll also do an independent estimate and see if those are close, and then negotiate that final change number. That's the process. So each one has to be addressed separately.
Other questions? I'm going to follow up on Commissioner Nunes' point. If you take the rather large amount of change orders here, how many of those change orders were foreseeable as a percentage, and how many were what percentage were unforeseeable? That's really what we're getting at.
Of numbers of change orders or dollar amounts?
Dollar amounts.
Yes. Well,
do you have a sense of that?
Up front, I don't have a real good sense of that. We generally take a 15% for an underground construction is fairly common. Probably half of that we would expect, because normally we're getting 6 to 9% changes in a project like this. So
that doesn't get at my question.
Okay.
We can't hold you terribly responsible for unforeseeable changes.
Right.
On the other hand, things that are foreseeable, we should at least know they were foreseeable and figure out why we didn't know, why we weren't aware that those changes were likely to occur. And I think it's worthwhile going back and looking at the change orders and figuring out which of those were foreseeable so we can improve our practices in the future.
We do that. For every project, we have a lessons learned system that we go back and say, are there some things that would apply to the next project that happen on this project? And we'll go ahead and incorporate those changes. Like some of the things that we've learned about the shoring system, when we can and when we can't use that shoring system. So we've learned a lot that way. Other things, tunneling methods, we're always trying to improve just how we're doing it and anticipating problems as they come up.
So maybe at the next meeting under operations, you could give me a sense of the foreseeability of the changes that occurred on this contract.
I will do that.
Fair enough?
Maybe I'm asking the same question, but understanding a tree trunk that you run into, you would not be able to foresee. How much of the change orders are a function of changing your mind about the way that you want to finish or complete a project?
Yeah.
That's actually a third category.
Right. We do have a breakdown of differing site conditions, errors in maybe from the drawings and specifications, omissions, things that we didn't put in there, regulatory requirements that may be new, and user betterments. And so there have been a combination of all those. And we've got those listed. And each time we go through change orders, we specify the reason for those change orders and if it's an owner-requested change or not. In this one in particular, we actually have a net positive owner change, because we ran into the shoring problem. We actually then were able to specify a cheaper alternative in the ultimate that actually gave us some credit.
At least that answers your question in this case. Commissioner Moss?
I'm concerned a little bit about this job because in following it, I know that there's been a lot of difficulty with the neighbors in the area where the construction is going on. And I know that it's a very narrow, some of the parts of the construction program involved very narrow streets, tunneling close to residences. But I know that there's been a lot of dust mitigation issues and a lot of noise mitigation issues, and I'm just wondering what lessons have you drawn from the experience thus far with this project that you're going to apply to other projects to avoid the sort of ratepayer neighborhood type disturbances?
We have had a lot of community interaction on this project, and Mr. Nichols was fortunate to go to a meeting in the community with me. We have learned a lot, and we've implemented several new systems on this project of logging our watering of the roadway, doing additional dust monitoring. So we intend to follow that through with future projects. We've also really enhanced our community outreach. The website is updated on a regular basis, on a frequent basis. We're sending emails to all those that have expressed interest in the project on regular updates. We're keeping them. We have a regular quarterly meeting on traffic conditions and things that we're doing to help the businesses along the route. So a lot of the things that we've done is restricted some of the work areas. That's improved some of the traffic flow as a response to the community. That has cost us a little bit additional money, and that's part of these changes because the contractor is working in a restricted area, a smaller work area than was anticipated, and it takes him more time to do that. So that's some of the reasons for some of these changes.
Any other questions on items 7 or 8? Is there a motion to approve the items?
So moved.
Second.
Any objections? Hearing none, items 7 and 8 pass. I believe item 14, Commissioner Parfrey had questions. Who's presenting item 14?
I do have a speaker card for 14.
Let's take the speaker card first.
Okay, the speaker is Linda Romney.
I would like to address the low-income lifeline credit and the physician, as well as the other discount that you have. Specifically, as you know, July 1st of last year, the minimal amount that was given for water of $10 per month and approximately $32 and change for electric per billing period is exactly the same as it has been for the last 35 years. Now, we all know that in 35 years, the Department of Water and Power has had, what, over 3,000 increases in electric and water? What happened July 1st of last year? The Sanitation Department put through an increase, and where it used to be $0, it now is $50 for sanitation. Even if you have no garbage whatsoever to give to the Sanitation Department, that $50 in essence wiped out the entire discount that was given by the Department of Water and Power for your indigent customers. That's for your senior citizens, for your disabled, for your low income, and for your lifeline. Now, what's happening here is the fact that there is no lifeline being given to the people who need it the most. And as far as the baseline, which was brought up, I want you to know that when it comes to the baseline of the San Fernando Valley versus Los Angeles, it is exactly the same as the high zone. Now, we all know that the temperature in the San Fernando Valley is at least 20 degrees higher than it is here in Los Angeles. What does that mean? It means that we have to water more. It usually means that we have to take showers more, right? But we have absolutely nothing given to us as far as the allotment. What happens then as far as the electricity? Yes, we have to use our fans and if we have it and can afford to use it, our air conditioning. But no allotment has been given. Now, as far as this low income is concerned, it has to be increased. It must be increased. It cannot be the same amount of money because your charges for sewer, for sanitation, and for everything else that the city has imposed upon us, even if we don't use the service, we can't opt out of it. So what happens? We don't eat, Is that where we are now? Something has to be done. And as far as the one discount that you can get through HEAP, if you qualify for it, it's once a year. It used to be $279 maximum. It's now $218. That's the discount you get once a year. You get no other discounts. So what does that mean? You just come out and turn our service off? Please, something has to be done about this. We're in a depression, not a recession.
Can you wrap up your remarks, please?
Yes. We're in a depression, not a recession. The majority of the people that you have are low income, they're disabled, and a great number of them are senior citizens. There has to be some kind of an edge or a point where these people can survive. That's all I'm talking about, is survival. And we can't do that. It's not happening. Not when you have the same discount of 35 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Who's presenting the item? Who's presenting item 14?
Has that been signed, Ron?
Sorry, it would be on Phil, on low-income criteria.
Phil? Okay. Commissioner Parfrey has questions?
Yes. Could you describe to me how the low-income discount rate has increased or decreased from previous years? And then I also have a question for the city attorney. Is this...
Just take them one at a time.
The low-income discounts that are offered for both water and power are in fact frozen. There are some constraints around our ability to change those discounts. The city attorney can address what some of those constraints are, but they primarily relate to Proposition 26. We don't really have the latitude to adjust those amounts at this time.
I think there needs to be a clarifying point. There's the criteria for what constitutes qualifying, and these are tied to modifying the income levels to be consistent with what the other utilities, what the investor-owned utilities in the state do, using the guidance of the California Public Utilities Commission. And then then is your other question as to the dollar amounts associated with that?
Well, yeah, I was responding to our public speaker. I just wanted to hear, definitively whether we're providing any kind of rate relief that's greater or lesser than previous years, or is it frozen?
Your ability to provide that relief is limited by Prop 26 on the power side and Prop 218 on the water side, so that amount has not changed.
But Prop 26 is relatively new.
Yes.
Right? So before Prop 26, what determined the amount? Or how was the amount determined?
That I can't tell you how it was determined.
Okay.
The other question I had to do with the income levels that will determine whether one qualifies to be a low-income customer. And is this a voluntary benchmarking that is provided by the California Public Utilities Commission, or is this required by law? And the reason I ask is that publicly owned utilities typically have discretion and independence and are not governed by the CPUC.
Generally, Commissioner, we are not governed by the CPUC, and in this circumstance, I don't know if this is an area where it's the exception, or if we simply choose to adopt this criteria.
Mr. President, I'm a little confused, on this topic, because I'm not quite sure what our discretion is as a board right now, based upon what the city attorneys, and I'm wondering if maybe we might wish to defer this item and also get a more formal presentation as to what we can and can't do as a board, because I was under the impression, based upon the board letter, that we were merely validating the CPUC's numbers, and that's what this resolution was about. But it seems that as we're digging into it a little bit more, there might be more to this than what was presented to us in the board letter.
I think that's a fair point. I think we were all of the impression that we had to abide by the federal guidelines and the rules set down by the CPUC. It sounds like that is not the case. There is an element of discretion here. Is that?
Actually, as we sit here right now, I can't answer that question.
Okay,
as to whether-
then we need
so
to
that we need some further legal
The
input.
core issue is our flexibility here. So is there a motion to defer the item?
There So is. moved.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Hearing no objections, the item is deferred. So we should come back with a more definitive explanation of the program, how the numbers are set, and particularly we want to know what discretion, if any, this board has, as well as the city.
Mr. President, if I could raise another point related to this, because I think it's germane to the topic you have just been discussing, and that is separate and distinct from the low income and the lifeline rate. There's also the consideration of the rate adjustments that are pending. And I would just like to remind the board, and we may not have spent a lot of time talking about this to date in the presentation that we gave you on the proposed rate adjustments, but we've taken a lot of time to take into consideration the very issue of what would be the rate increase effect on typically lower income customers. There are some levels of discretion of what we can and cannot do inside that area within the bounds of the law, as advised by counsel as well. But one of those areas where we're advised that we do have discretion and have taken that discretion is to change the distribution of that rate increase between lower users and higher users. And typically, not across the board, typically most lower income customers use less of our services than higher use customers do. And as a result, we have skewed the allocation to be a much lower increase for the lower monthly users of both water and power than higher end users, and it tends in general to favor the low income customer. Again, not unilaterally, but a very significant percentage of them.
I think that's right, and that's certainly worthwhile. The problem, of course, is it doesn't take into consideration things like family size.
True.
Right, so you could be
Right.
low income, you got 8 children, you have a problem.
Correct.
Right, and that's why the low income program becomes relevant.
Correct. And I'm not discounting the question, the importance of the issue that you've raised here. I just want to say where we do have discretion, we've certainly sought to do that. And we owe you a better description of this, and we'll do so at the next meeting.
Yeah, so, I mean, in terms of volumetric usage, we have factored that in. What we can't factor in are other factors.
Correct.
At least we don't know.
And I would appreciate at the next board meeting to be reminded of the various strategies of not having any kind of rate increase impact low-income customers. I think that is an
Or at
important
least
message to get
minimizing
out.
it.
Or to minimize that.
Yeah.
It's an important fact to get out there.
All right, so that item is deferred. Let's go to item, unless there are other questions or comments. Okay. Item 15.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. What you have before you is a proposed procurement for electrical supplies for a 6-month period with a 1-year option. That option can only be exercised with approval from the General Manager. The sum total will be approximately $15 million.
Questions or comments on that, Commissioner Moss?
Yes, I don't have the resolution in front of me at the moment, but it was my reading of it that the discretion of the general manager to go beyond, to go beyond the 6-month period was not necessarily embodied in the resolution. And if that proves to be the case, I would like to amend the resolution to add that in there, because I think that was an important part of the presentation in the board letter, that my understanding is we're really approving for 6 months, and then if things work out well and we don't have our own program to go forward with, then the general manager has the discretion to approve the additional year. But that did not seem to me to get translated into the resolution.
I'd like to thank the Commissioner for noticing that oversight. That's excellent.
Is there a motion to amend?
Yeah, I would like to move to amend to add to the resolution that the general manager shall have the discretion to approve the additional 1-year option.
Is there a second?
Yes.
Are there questions on the amendment? What it means? Do you have any comments or concerns about the amendment?
No.
Commissioner General Manager Nichols, any questions or concerns?
No.
Okay. Is there a motion to approve the motion as amended?
So moved.
Is there a second? Second. Hearing no objections, the motion as amended is approved. Item 16.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Joe Castrita. I'm the Director of Water Distribution. Here, what you have before you is our presentation of our proposed annual water facility charges. These will be for 2012-2013, which, if approved, will be implemented on September 1st. We're here to answer any questions if you have them.
Commissioner Moss?
Yeah, I had a question, just if you could go through the process of how you determine which charges go up, which charges were reduced, because as I was reading the materials on it, there were many charges that were actually being reduced and some that were being increased, and they seem to be sometimes in the same category, but maybe one was a 1-inch, issue, and one was a 1.5-inch issue, and one went down by 8%, another went up by 24%, and I could not make any heads or tails of that, so I just wanted to ask you what the process was for doing that.
Okay. The variables that we deal with when, let's say, a 1-inch service is purchased is there's a lot of unknowns underground. There's also difficulty factors that we deal with traffic. We deal with depths of main. Traffic is a big issue. We have to additionally add labor to that to safely get the job site progressed. That's one of them. Also, we installed over 381 of those services this year. Our 1.5-inch services, 2-inch, 4-inch, 6-inch, all have variables. We try to estimate and bring our costs in as close as possible. Basically, we're just there to recover the cost of what it costs to install, so our labor and materials. So those costs do vary, and as we get to the end of the fiscal year, we tally up all of our expenditures and look at what we collected and what it costs us to install those. So some will go up, some will go down.
I see. So how did you do this past year?
Well, on some of our items, we actually did better than we thought as far as our installations went. We had less difficulties out there anticipated from the year before. As you can see in some of our columns, in 2010, some of our items had gone down, and some had gone up based on the difficulty range.
Okay, so you've taken this opportunity to readjust the numbers based upon your past history.
Yes, we are.
Thank you.
Do you burden the costs with general administrative expenses or any other fixed costs that may be overhead related versus cost of actually doing the work?
There are some administrative costs. Mr. Hugo Torres could probably explain.
Yeah, we include processing costs and, where applicable, engineering costs as well.
So this is it's basically a cost allocation exercise, right?
Yes.
And we do a look back, right?
Yes, correct.
And based on the cost to serve that class of customer or that group of customers, we then set the rates going forward.
That's correct.
Okay.
I have one question. Looking at the last page, page 6 of the amended document, and there's acreage supply charge rates. Could you describe what that is?
Yes, these various acreage supply districts were established to serve those particular areas that we're not able to serve by gravity alone. So we have to install additional pumps, tanks, and so forth. So they take the cost of that entire infrastructure and then divide it by the per acre, and then we set the rate that way, and then we recover the cost, and we collect it as people come in and develop the property.
In the future, may I suggest when you come back next year that you describe what that function is? It was difficult to understand. Thank you.
Other questions or comments on item 14? 16. Item 16, excuse me. Is there a motion to approve item 16?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Hearing no objections, item 16 passes. Item 17.
I do have speaker cards for 17.
Let's take those first.
Okay, the first speaker is Wade Hunter.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Wade Hunter. I'm the Vice Chair of the Granada Hills North
Neighborhood Council's Planning and Land Use Committee. We comment now for the record in order to preserve our rights and those of our community. We have responded to every DWP mitigated neg deck from the Terminal Hill project to the 10 million gallon chlorine contact tank and now to this Bull Creek realignment project. We felt this project's description and its subject statement inferred that the Bull Creek Extension Channel constituted the entire water quality improvement project, which does not comport with the realities of the project envisioned by the DWP to improve the water quality as mandated by the EPA and as previously presented to us by DWP staff some years ago. We waited patiently for an EIR that never came for that larger project. The questions that we submitted to this MND on the realignment were answered, although not necessarily to my satisfaction, but they were answered, along with our questions regarding deployment of 76 million black plastic shade balls on the LA reservoir. Additionally, staff responded to a separate list of questions on the shade balls submitted prior to your July 17, 2012 board meeting. Your staff has met with us several times, and at a meeting on August 2nd, 2012, it was agreed that in return for decoupling our concerns for the Bull Creek realignment project, that the DWP would provide a letter to the GHNNC which would agree to provide the equivalent of a mitigated neg deck or an EIR quality type review to be conducted timely by DWP staff and or independent consultants as needed in order to produce environmental documentation on the planned use of the 76 million black plastic shade balls on the Los Angeles reservoir. In the spirit of cooperation, we realize that the mandated changes must take place as expeditiously as possible, and we felt that this agreement would allow that, while at the same time ensuring an environmental review that would be conducted to protect the health, safety, and welfare of our neighborhood. And this is a review which would not have to go through the normal filing and review channels. In closing, our Chair, Ms. Ann Ziliak, extends her thanks to staff for their efforts and for meeting with us, but has also asked me to express that our Neighborhood Council's frustration, not only for the lack of notification and environmental studies on the shade balls, but for the UV treatment plants as well, and that she would respectfully request that the board instruct staff that the GHNNC is to be notified timely in the future and that it be included in any and all future construction work contemplated in our area. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker,
I'm sorry.
Next speaker is Ralph Croy.
I really don't have anything further to say after Wade Hunter. Thank you.
Ditto, right? Any other public speakers?
That's the last card for that one.
Commissioners have any questions on this item? Item 17?
I'd just like to ask Mr. Singley to sort of restate publicly the agreement that you have with the Neighborhood Council.
I can do so. I was on vacation during that meeting, but I have had a report from staff that they did have a good meeting with the Neighborhood Council and a small committee, and have agreed to certainly involve and engage them in any future work that we're doing. And as we anticipate putting these shade balls on the reservoir, we want to keep in close contact with them. They've had a number of technical questions and questions as to potential impacts of these shade balls that we want to answer completely as we can, so there are no questions lingering, and want to make sure that they have a full understanding of the breadth and depth of all the projects that are going on at the reservoir property.
So there is a commitment to continue the dialogue with the Neighborhood Council?
Yes.
All right.
I'd like to add in addition to a commitment to continue the dialogue, we have specifically agreed to undertake certain studies related to provide greater level of information that they have requested with respect to the effects of the shade balls and some other technical analyses and environmental considerations associated with that, so they've got a better understanding of those issues. We've committed to do that. We will do so, and we'll move forward on that.
Will, do you anticipate that these environmental studies would all delay the installation of the shade balls on the reservoir, the creation of the UV facilities at the Van Norman complex?
It's not, and it's with, I believe, that express understanding in terms of our going forward with it, that the homeowner association, neighborhood councils understands that as well, and the importance is to get information out there. They want to understand it better. There were some unfortunate communication problems with respect to notice on this. That has been corrected. That will not be a problem going forward, and we will do a better job of outreach and not just rely upon sending out a notice as well. So we certainly recognize your concerns, and we will address those. The project is anticipated to go forward as planned. And I would just remind the commissioners, this project in its form that you adopted is incredibly less overall intrusive project. The numbers of the scope of the project, the fact that we're not creating a duplicate temporary major reservoir and undertaking that would have taken nearly a decade of efforts and thousands of truck trips of moving soil and such. This is an environmentally better project. The parties have asked for a little bit better understanding with respect to some of the issues associated with the shade balls and matters there too, and we will address that and provide that information and move forward with the project on a timely basis to comply with the requirements of the California Department of Public Health. So I think it's a reasonable accommodation that will provide them the information that they need.
Other questions on item 17? Is there a motion to approve item 17?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Hearing no objections, item 17 is passed. I'm going to skip item 19 for the moment. We'll come back to item 20. Is that you, Phil?
Yes, it is. This time it is me.
Okay. Can we take 20 and 21 together? Or no, they're different. Okay, let's do it 20.
Okay. Item 20 requests your authorization for us to proceed with the issuance of $780 million in power system bonds. Most of that is new money. That's $650 million. That would fund about half of our capital program for the current fiscal year. We're going to be doing something a little unique with those bonds. Typically, we just issue traditional fixed-rate bonds with a long term. We're going to split this component into two pieces. About $300 million will be short-term bonds with a term of about 3 years. And we're doing that to take advantage of some of the currently very low interest rates. By doing that, we were able to shave off about 0.7% of the rate increase that customers would have seen this year, and they'll enjoy that same benefit for the following 2 years. There is some risk that when we go to refinance that, we might have to do that at a higher rate than would be available today, but we think that that's a very manageable risk because if rates are higher, we could continue to float these as short-term bonds. So we've evaluated the risk, and we think that the trade-off is worth it. The other half of this issuance will be traditional fixed-rate bonds. That's for $350 million. And then we're also taking advantage of the opportunity to refinance $130 million of existing debt, and we hope to save about $18 million from doing so. So we're also taking advantage of that and passing those savings on directly to the ratepayers in terms of offsetting the rates that they would have otherwise paid.
Questions on item 20?
Yes.
Commissioner Moss?
I'd like to discuss the short-term bond scenario. You say that the risks that when those are called are manageable. How do you manage if the interest rates have gone up? I think in the board package it was the rates will have to go up by what, 115 basis points to be out of the money?
That's correct. So there is that possibility. We're not forced to, at that time, lock in at longer-term rates. We could continue to roll them over on a short term like we have.
What if the short-term rates have also gone up by more than 115 basis points?
It is a possibility, but it's one that we think, just knowing what we know about the likelihood of rates remaining relatively low over the next 3 years, I think it's worth it.
Well, let me ask you this. What, in your modeling, what is the downside? Let's say that it goes up 120 basis points, both on short and long term. What is the impact on the ratepayers at that point?
The cost would be that additional 5 basis points that there'd be a long-term cost of that year over year.
So the ratepayers would get a locked-in 0.70 decrease in rates or non-increase in rates for 3 years, and then pay a lot more in years 4 and 5 and going forward?
Well, if it was 5 basis points, it wouldn't be a lot more, but it would depend on what that is. But if rates did move, if longer-term rates moved a lot higher 3 years from now, we would have the option to just continue to roll it over on a short-term basis. And as we look over the past decade, short-term variable rate demand bonds have been very, very affordable. The interest costs have been very low. And we do currently have a portion of our debt program in such paper. And if need be, we could expand that and have more short-term exposure. Over the long run, despite the fluctuations up and down of interest rates, having a sizable exposure to short-term debt is proven to be very worthwhile, even in periods of market disruption. 2008, when rates spiked higher, if you look over any given period of time, it still makes a lot of sense to have some exposure in that area.
Commissioner Holloman?
Maybe you just answered my question, but I just want to understand definitively what the motivation is for going, taking this $300 million short-term versus all of it long-term, given where long-term rates are today and the risk associated with rates going up in the future. What is our motivation? Why take the risk?
Well, we're doing everything we can to keep rate increases low over the next 3 years. So we've used this opportunity as well as many others to try to mitigate these rate increases. And we're going to have to do that as we face the potential for sizable increases, not just in the next 2 years, but going forward. So we're trying to take advantage.
But isn't the answer to this question, it's a hedge against long-term interest rates going up?
No. The answer
no, it's really the opposite.
To keep the rates
I
down.
mean, it's the opposite.
The answer is to minimize rate increases as much as possible.
See, but my concern is that our long-term rates now are pretty low, aren't they?
They are.
So, and we could lock in a low rate for 30 years, and I understand it might result in a little bit higher rate increase now, but over time, that 30-year lock-in is a pretty good deal, is it not?
It is, but we think given where rates are likely to head over the next 2 to 3 years, again, they would have to increase well over 100 basis points.
Well, I can see that happening because you got one or two black swan events, and you got that. You have Europe, that's on teetering on crisis. You have situation in the Persian Gulf that could go sideways very quickly. It makes me very nervous.
Commissioner Holloman?
I mean, but at the same time, I understand, and that's why one of the motivation definitively articulated that the department and the board, frankly, is in a position where we have to, I don't want to use the term play games, but that's what's coming to mind, with what's prudent in terms of our fiscal responsibility with trying to get a rate increase that is amenable to City Hall.
If I can indulge another thing, I'm not going to pretend to be a macroeconomist here, but at the end of the day, one of the things that we took into consideration when we looked at this, because we discussed this internally quite a bit, is the fact that at present right now, one of the issues that we're dealing with repeatedly concerns voiced in the public, and appropriately so, is we're in a very bad economic circumstance right now. Los Angeles is a higher unemployment rate than does the rest of the nation in general on average, and we recognize that our rates are harder to afford and increases are harder to afford right now given that circumstance. Generally, and this is not unilaterally true, generally speaking, the items that would increase interest rates are on a sustained basis that would increase our cost of borrowing are more likely to be changes in what the Fed does. changes in what the Fed does are more likely going to be a factor associated with what's the economy doing. So if the economy is getting more robust, things are turning around, business is getting better, then we would find a circumstance where our economy is getting better, and therefore ability to pay gets a little bit better as well. I would like to believe that that's going to happen in the next 3 years. Our general belief is it's probably not too likely to turn around real quickly with regard to that, and as a result, the circumstances that have kept interest rates down are probably likely to keep them down. And if they aren't, that means that the economy has gotten better, and the ability to afford is better as well. And it's kind of a rising boats issue. We took those factors into consideration, recognizing the things that we're dealing with right now and trying to ramp up our costs, and believe that all in, it's a reasonable position for us to take. Now, if the board feels differently, we can, I guess we could change that approach. But at the end of the day, it's kind of part of our overall financial plan in the near term.
I'm actually sympathetic to it, and in fact do support the position. I just wanted to have some discussion around, why the decision's being made and why it makes sense for us to undertake it the way that you're contemplating. I think we have arrows in our quiver to deal with affordability. We just talked about that a couple of agenda items ago. It's getting, the rubber's meeting the road. How much can we afford, and what arrows do we have in our quiver to adjust how much we spend on an annual basis to deal with the money that we have, right? And this is just one of those things we're doing to adjust to, what our constraints are monetarily.
One other thing I should mention that kind of offsets some risks that we might face in a situation like this is, as you're all aware, we have about a $500 million debt reduction trust fund in the power system. And we have to invest those proceeds, and it kind of serves as a natural hedge for our exposure on the other side of the balance sheet. So we have $500 million of assets. The return on that's very, very low. We have variable rate bonds or short-term rates here. So to the extent interest rates did rise in the next couple of years, we're going to earn more on that, those investments, and pay a little more on this side as well. So we are somewhat hedged if rates should go up in that way.
Well, thank you for adding that. That's helpful to know. Is this strategy something that you're going to be employing again, or is this just a one-time opportunity for you?
I don't say we have plans to do it again, but we would always be looking at the relationship between longer-term and shorter-term rates, and if there is a wide variance like this, we would certainly consider it in our toolbox.
Other questions or comments? Is there a motion on item 20?
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Hearing no objections, item 20 passes. Item 21.
Item 21 is a request for your authorization to renew our insurance program for our Pine Tree Wind Farm. I have some good news. That's a relatively recent update from what was written in this board memo back in mid-July. The board memo anticipated an increase in the insurance cost of about 18% from the current level of the past year. And I'm pleased to say that the insurance broker has completed the underwriting and was able to hold down that increase to just 2%. So it's just about an $8,000 increase from the expiring premium. A total of about a $70,000 savings from the $530,000 that's noted here.
That is good news. Questions or comments? Commissioner Noonan?
Thank you. I'm curious as to why we would want to grant the ability to have the policy renewed for 3 consecutive years instead of going out to bid. I know that you put a cap saying that the premium wouldn't go up by 15%, but why wouldn't we want to go out to the marketplace and try and leverage the best price?
And how do we arrive at 15%?
Oh, we certainly will do that, Commissioner. Avery Neiman from the Risk Management Section. This is just to avoid having to come back to you and spend your time, but each and every opportunity we take, we market the program to interested carriers to get the broadest coverage and the cheapest rates. So we will do that next year as well. We're just asking that if we do that successfully and we keep the premiums less than a 15% increase over expiring premiums, we do not have to come back to you.
Well, we like it when you come back to us.
Well, we would be happy to come back to you. Insurance is very interesting, of course.
Yeah, I love it.
This is how you arrived at the 15% number. Is that arbitrary?
Yes, it is. Absolutely.
Seems high to me.
Would the number-
I'll defer to the experts.
Would the board be more comfortable with a lower number?
My concern is, I'd like there to be an incentive to try and get the best price. And it kind of concerns me that if we're agreeing for a 3-year contract and stating, as long as you don't go up by 15%, I'm concerned that it may take the motivation away for them to properly, market the premium.
I understand your concern, but we would not do that. We hold our insurance brokers to the highest standards and would insist that they do the best marketing and bring us back the best and broadest coverage for the least amount of money. That's our charge.
So we understand your role. So would the board be more comfortable?
This commissioner would be more comfortable with an arbitrary 10% versus 15.
Okay. Do I hear 5? The number's at 2 now, right?
Right.
So why are we going to 15? Right. Commissioner Newman?
Personally, I like to have the insurance come back to us on an annual basis. I mean, just let's see what's happening here.
I actually like the idea of giving our department some discretion, some bounds they can work within, so they don't have to bring every single item back.
Yes.
So, and as long that makes sense to me in terms of the efficiency of this board. But I think putting a more rigorous number is probably a good idea. And I'm in this market. I think a 5% increase is a big increase. Right? So I would offer up. We'll give you discretion within 5% as an amendment to this.
That would be fine.
I'd second or move that if the chair can.
Please move it. Yes.
I'd move the resolution with a 5% cap as opposed to 15.
For a second.
I have a request. I think that if we are going to give the department more leeway to enter into agreements without getting board approval, I would like on a semi-annual basis just to be given a summary as to what you are doing with insurance. I thought that it was very helpful to see the marketing summary. And I think having that information at least would make me feel more comfortable as a commissioner to make sure that the provider that we're using is doing the work.
So let's add
properly.
that follow-up to the motion.
Right. As a second. Correct.
But as a joint amendment. Okay. Is there a second to the amendment?
There is.
Okay. Are there questions about the motion as amended?
Actually, if I could get some clarification, so I make sure that we're following up appropriately. It's for a semi-annual report back that you were looking for?
I think I don't want to create, a lot of extra work for you, but I would like to check in and make sure that our provider is tapping into the right markets and leveraging the best deals that they can for us on these various requirements.
Commissioner Noonan, can I ask for a clarifying question? So does that involve Linden Ranch and Pine Tree, or is this all insurance coverage?
Right now we're just talking about this. You may have a broader issue.
I would like information on not only this particular requirement, but any
Can we do that?
any other situations like this that aren't presented to our board. Are there many other occasions like this where you can go ahead and enter into the agreements after a set point without approaching the board, or is this?
Well, we purchase many coverages less than $150,000 in premium, but we do come to you for authority on a blanket basis for those, such that we don't have to do purchase orders for each and every one of those smaller.
So lawyers don't lose their minds. Let's focus on this transaction for now. And then we'll come back to that. Okay. So we have to understand it's 5%, right? But there'd be semi-annual reporting back on how we're doing. Okay. That's been moved and second. Are there any objections? Okay. Hearing none, the motion as amended passes. I think, though, to address Commissioner Noonan's concerns on the issues of operations, why don't you give us a sense of the kind of latitude you're given within to negotiate contracts over a period of time once you have a certain approval level. Am I?
I'm not, I
Okay.
don't understand
Well, I think what
your
she's
question.
saying is on other contracts, right? Are there
Other
other
insurance
contracts
policies
floating
going
out
on?
there where you have the ability to enter the contract without coming back to the board, right? Assuming you are able to negotiate a certain price increase. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I mean, bottom line, I just want to make sure that our provider is properly approaching different markets, appropriate markets with our requirements, and that they're not, just calling out on one or two firms instead of properly marketing our requirements. So I personally, like Commissioner Moss, I don't mind reviewing these requests because I think it makes me feel comfortable to see, okay, well, they've approached 5, 6 different markets, which I think for this requirement is appropriate. But if you are going to have leeway where you're not going to ask for board approval, I just want assurance that that is in fact being done, that there's an appropriate amount of markets that have information and are bidding on our requirements.
So how do we get you that assurance? What is it you would need from the department?
Well, we could even just set up.
Would you like a semi-annual meeting where we
Yeah.
could give you a briefing?
Yeah.
If that would be acceptable to Mr. Nichols and staff?
I'll tell you what, let me work with staff on this.
Okay.
And now I understand the issue, and we'll figure out a way to address the concern.
And my only question is whether this issue is something that would need to be agendized for another board if there's action by it. I just would
Well,
need
it
some
may be,
legal
so-
guidance on that.
And that would be my recommendation, once you work that out, agendize it as an agenda item and bring it back for a
Okay.
vote.
Okay. 3 of us will work on a way to get this back on board. Okay. We're on to item 22. Joe, I assume that's your item?
It is indeed, and the bond discussion is a good transition into that. This seeks authority for us to enter into an agreement with the law firm of Orrick, Harrington, and Sutcliffe to provide us bond counsel. When the department issues bonds, they are required by both underwriters and our bond covenants to have independent legal opinions with respect to those bonds, bond offerings. And through a competitive process, we selected the firm of Orrick, Harrington, and Sutcliffe, and would ask your approval of that contract.
Questions or comments?
Yeah, I have one. Could you, or actually a request, could you describe the competitive process? Because it was a little scant information in the board package in terms of, I think there were 22 or some odd firms that had, offered their services on this, but there was no breakdown as to why Orrick was, other than the reference to the committee that liked Orrick the best, but under what criteria?
From those 22, 7 were selected for further interview, and I'll have Priscilla Casillo, who participated in the selection process, come answer those questions for you.
Deputy City Attorney Priscilla Castillo. The competitive process was done through the City Attorney's Office, and it was done for the 3 proprietary departments. So 22 firms responded to the RFP, and collectively, the group that was involved in the interviews, which was composed of City Attorney representatives and financial services staff from the 3 proprietary departments, chose 7 firms to interview. And from those 7 firms, 5 were selected. And the different proprietaries departments chose the firms from that pool, and the department chose Orrick.
Why?
Based on their experience, expertise, lack of conflicts of interest, and the fees that were negotiated, and our past practice with Orrick. They've been our bond counsel. They've done an excellent job. They're consistently ranked #1 in the country and in California based on Reuters data, and are very well regarded. And as the department moves forward with projections to issue $7.5 billion over the next 3 years in bonds, there's a lot of potential liability and exposure involved in doing that. So we recommend selecting the most qualified candidate, which we believe is Orrick. And Jean Karen of the firm is here in case you have any further questions.
Okay, I have nothing against Orrick. I just found that the description in the board package was really not very descriptive of the competitive process. So I appreciate you, informing us a little bit more about that.
Sure.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Other questions or comments? Is there a motion to approve item 22?
So moved.
Is there a second? Hearing no objections, item 22 passes.
Yeah, item 23 is also
Yes.
also ours, and in item 23, we are requesting a one-year extension with Van Ness Feldman for $130,000 while we complete our RFP process. Van Ness Feldman is our FERC counsel in Washington, D.C., and presently we are going through the RFP process for FERC counsel, and this will carry us through that period.
Questions? Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second? Hearing no objections, item 23 passes. Item 24. Whose item is that, Ron? Oh, there it is.
This is our just-in-time response.
That's right.
Shannon Pasquale, HR. Before you, we have the annual personnel resolution that we bring to the board every year, which basically outlines specifically the number of positions that we have in the 3 systems within the department. You will note this year that there has been a reduction in the number of authorized positions by 397 positions, and that was done specifically at the request of the general manager through the budget office. So going forward for 2012-13, our APR, or our annual personnel resolution, will have 9,986 budgeted positions.
Questions or comments? Is there a motion?
There is.
Second?
Second.
Hearing no objections, item 24 passes. I'm going to recuse myself on item 19 if Mr. Commissioner Holman can take that matter over.
Thank you, President Sales. 19 is one that we had a spirited debate on a couple of weeks ago and decided to bring it back today, and it was kind of a right side of the aisle versus the left side of the aisle discussion. I don't know that Commissioner Parfrey has been associated with the right side of the aisle, nor myself for that matter.
I do have a speaker card for 19.
You have a speaker card for 19. Let's hear from the speaker.
The speaker is Linda Romney.
Many's the time I've been before this board, and there's been concerns about the issues that have come up specifically having to do with fiber optics. Specifically, there has been commissioners that have stated that there hasn't been sufficient time. We don't know what the comparison in price is with your competitors or the competitors having to do with fiber optics. And it seems in total as if what is occurring here is that basically the Department of Water and Power, when it comes to this specific area, is giving away the Department of Water and Power rights. You're charging your ratepayers a great amount of money, but when it comes to the fiber optics that's owned by the Department of Water and Power, the leases, the extent of the lease, and the amount of money and cost that your competitors charge, as far as the survey, the Department of Water and Power is not within the range at all. So I'm wondering specifically what has been done in regards to this. From the time that this issue was set aside to be brought forward today, as to where we are as far as the cost and the amount of money to be generated from this very lucrative area, which in fact is not lucrative for the Department of Water and Power at all, because they've chosen to have it not lucrative. So I'm looking forward to this. Thank you.
Thank you. What did come from the discussion a couple weeks ago is that there is a committee created that Commissioner Moss is going to lead for us, that's going to work with staff in the department to come up with a cogent, comprehensive policy strategy around how we deal with these leases going forward. My concern at the last meeting and my concern today is that while we're going through that process, we don't hold up our good customers who have been with us for some time and not give them the ability to plan for what their costs may be, et cetera. And I think that's kind of where we left off last.
Mr. Holman, if I might, we have here Matt Lamp, who is our CIO and is, as you know, been working on this issue. I think he can provide us some updates with regard to where we are in terms of following up on some of the number of things that Commissioner Moss had requested in several meetings back with regard to getting updates on market information and an approach to how we might go about dealing with some of these agreements that expire during the pendency of that. So I would ask that Matt give an overview with regard to where we are and the timing on that, the fact that we have two different requests for proposals out to seek some input with respect to these and how that impinges upon the timing of decisions on these and some interim motion of methods that we might take. So it would have Matt provide that overview.
Okay. Yeah. Let me start just to correct one part of the record. Previous boards have set a sort of a policy for us that we should be targeting sort of mid-market in terms of pricing, neither the highest nor the lowest pricing. There have been past pricing surveys, and our pricing was established based on those past surveys. In 2010, I believe, at the end of 2010, we went out with an RFP to review pricing again. At that point, there was a decision made that based on what we were seeing in the marketplace, there really was no expectation of any increase visible in the pricing. And that was the time when we were starting to try to figure out how to deal with some significant budget reductions, and that RFP was put on hold, or was canceled at that point. We have reissued that RFP. It is on the street now. Proposals are due on Thursday. We anticipate that well before the end of the year, we will have a pricing review back from the apparent, whoever the successful vendor is. So that gets us at least a good review on pricing in the IRUs. The second RFP, which is in draft right now, and I want to is moving through the process, and we expect to have out very shortly, is a more broader market look. That is, what's changed in the marketplace? What are some of the reasonable expectations of a size of a market we could achieve here? What will it take to achieve a bigger penetration, make this more valuable for the department, given both some of our constraints and some of the changes that are happening in the overall technology marketplace. So that RFP, we're just trying to get the final details resolved and get that one out as well. In the next 6 months, we have essentially, of the sort of current customers, we have 3 more agreements that will come back. 2 of them are master agreements, each with 1 IRU associated with them. So we are actually in a fairly quiet period right now. I've asked my staff to limit IRUs to no more than 2 years in that period, because while the masters may be very long, like the USC one, if you read carefully through the master, it really defers all pricing to the IRUs. So the master sets the overall terms and conditions for the contract, termination, some of the service level requirements, how we deliver service, what the obligations are around billing and payment. If somebody gets a long IRU discount for signing up for a long period of time, how we recapture that if they bail out or if they terminate early, what the penalties are for that. Those sorts of contractual parameters are what's in the master. The IRU is where we actually set the pricing, where we set the review of pricing, et cetera. And so we have a relatively limited number of those things coming back to the board. Well, I said we had those 3. There are 2 other ones that are potentially you might see, and I'll mention those. One is an agreement with Metropolitan Transit that has no dollars associated with it because we did we built something for them, they paid for it, And then we did a fiber swap with them for some fiber they had that we felt was valuable to us as an equal swap, and we just need to renew that master. And the other one is a customer who's a video circuit customer who wants to move to our new platform. It wasn't ready yet. We've kept them on month to month past their date until we could actually provide them a contract for the new service they want to move to. We didn't think it made any sense to do otherwise. So those are the only sort of two that I'm aware of that might come in addition. So we're in a relatively low point right now in terms of things coming forward. And as I say, I would expect really before we hit the end of 6 months, we will have pricing information, and we may at least have some preliminary information back in sort of the broader strategy issues before we have to really move ahead into a next heavy period, which I think the heaviest period is sort of around June next year. So that's what I hope gets us sort of through this interim period, keeps us moving with the customers who are coming due in the very short term, and we can keep this thing moving forward and work with the subcommittee as these various pieces evolve.
Just a point of clarification for me, the IRU 1 through 17 would generate $644,000 in revenue for the department.
Right.
And then there will be new active IRUs. Do we know how many or what the potential would be there?
I don't know how many additional ones. So some of these are actually, we don't reuse an IRU number, so some of these disappear. Roughly 65% of the revenue, that's roughly $1,000 in revenue, is on IRUs that expire by June 30th. So the bulk of these we will see back at a time frame where we should be able to apply whatever we learn from
whatever new
pricing.
metric there would be
Right.
based on the activities of the committee and the department.
Right. There are a small number that were 5-year IRUs. They are all, that will go beyond that. They are all post-2009 when we did our last major change in the pricing model. So they are all on the tiered pricing, which for most customers led to a fairly significant increase in their pricing. So the ones that are expiring 2013 predate the tiered pricing. The ones that would extend, I think the longest ones to 2016, is on the tiered pricing right now.
Further questions or comments from the commissioners?
No, I just want to thank the staff for the comprehensive report, and many of my objections that we discussed last meeting have been resolved, so I'm ready to go forward with this item.
Thank you.
And would like to make a motion to approve it.
Thank you, Commissioner Moss. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any objections? Hearing none, item 19 passes. President Sales, are you nearby? While we're waiting on President Sales, I think we are at item 25, which are the filed items. Are any comments or questions from the commissioners on filed items?
Yes, I have a couple on the monthly power system report.
Commissioner Parker.
So, hi, Aaron. Yeah, thanks for the presentation earlier on. Could we just get a sense of the current status of generation within our own system right now? You know, what units are up, what are down, what's being fixed, what capacity do we have during these hot days of summer?
So we have, we like I mentioned, we put a moratorium on maintenance, so we basically freeze our system as is, so we don't open up any more units or we do any maintenance on yards or lines and stuff. So as of this morning, we have a couple of units that were under maintenance, and we have to wrap them up. So tonight and tomorrow morning, we'll put those back on. There's a harbor unit that had a part that we're waiting on, and we're FedExing, UPSing it overnight from Texas, and then tomorrow morning we'll have the unit back on. So as far as adequacy of resources, you know, we should have enough resources by tomorrow morning to make sure we ride over the 2 days that we're anticipating that the megawatts are going to go over 6,000 for the following 2 days. But we do have Castaic units on, except for one.
And is that a scheduled maintenance on that one unit, or is
we had a forced outage on Castaic on one of the units, but it's a minor issue. I mean, we have the cause of that thing, and we'll put that back on.
So FedEx got there in time. and the I noticed in the report that we were having some issues with some of the gorge power plants as well. And,
yes.
And what's their status?
The repairs have been done on those units because we're doing these units are very old. They're 50+ years old units that we've been deferring the maintenance on them. We've taken the upper gorge unit off because of imminent failure, and for that we were using the bypass system to bypass the water for the water system usage. And those systems are not meant to have a sustained bypassing capacity, so they're designed for periodic, bypass periods. And so for that, we did an inspection just to make sure we have a safe system, for us to maintain that. And then we had a large contingency of crews that were out there. We did the maintenance on all the issues. We put it back on service, and we also put the unit back on for generation. We found out the cause of the issue that was identified by the operators. We repaired that, and it's back on service.
No, I'm very happy to hear that. And also, how's Adelanto doing? I saw the report that its first day had 8.6 megawatts. But
Adelanto is doing great. We had an opening ceremony on the 23rd. And we are doing major progress on Pine Tree Solar, so we're progressing on time, and we want to put that in service by the end of this year.
Right. And last question, do we have any excess generation that we're selling?
To serve our system, yes. We don't have, right now we have to maintain redundancy for our system.
Thank you.
Now, this is going to sound like a fairly naive question, but on super hot days like this, does that juice up the solar production at all? Is there any correlation?
It's actually, it actually might take a step back because of the heat. But the efficiencies. But we've actually met all the projected goals for that solar plant, and we're hoping that for the next 20 years we'll get the production that we projected out of it.
And I noted that our RPS is above the 20% last month.
Yeah, we typically find that our RPS goes up and down, monthly, depending upon just how the individual assets perform, how the wind is blowing, how the sun is shining, et cetera. It is back up. But you take a look at that report, it'll go up and down. Our criteria for what we're called to meet is on an annual average basis. So, some months are better and some months are lower, and you can almost predict the time of year which that's going to happen.
The average is over the 12-month from January to December, and that average we're going to be below 20. But the individual months will be above.
You also look at it on a trailing 12 as well, or do you analyze it on that?
Yeah, the 12-month period divided across the board, that's the average we report.
Other questions on filed items? Those will be deemed filed. Management items, are there any questions? That does it. Joe?
Thank you, Commissioner.
Oh, I'm sorry, excuse me, Commissioner Noonan.
Thank you for indulging me. On August 2nd, our secretary forwarded a letter that was addressed to our board from a company called Calgon Carbon. And in that email, she stated that, Mr. Nichols, you would be responding to Mr. Sullivan's letter. I respectfully request to be copied on the department's response because a lot of the accusations that are made in the letter are very concerning to me. And if appropriate, I think that his request to extend the bid process until the board has more information, I think that that's a feasible request, and it's one that I would ask you to consider.
I'd say right now I don't have the details on I'm generally familiar with the issue, but I don't know the current status of it. Glenn, I don't know if you can.
We are.
But but before we can't do anything as an action item on this. It's not an agendized item. It's a commissioner request. So if we want to follow up on Commissioner Noonan's request, we can do that.
Follow up with Commissioner Noonan before we take any further action.
Correct.
Anything else?
Just to be clear, the issue isn't on. It's not on the agenda for action today. On that contract, right?
Right.
We will follow up with you.
Thank you.
Joe?
Thank you, Commissioner. And before we recess, Paul Paquette of our office passed away last Thursday after a.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Paul Paquette of our office passed away last Thursday after a battle with cancer. Most people didn't know he was having the battle, and he actually would go to trial after chemotherapy. And so anyway, if we could, before we go into closed session, we could recess in a closed session in his memory. I appreciate that. We will recess in a closed session and report any reportable actions in accordance with the California Government Code after that.
Let's have a closed session.